Coming up on
Yeah,
Lyssa.
I can fix it. Here.
Where are you going to put that screwdriver?
Let me just... That's it.
No, I just want to talk to you about how I feel, how I'm feeling. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling.
I don't get it. Why wouldn't you want me to fix it?
I'm feeling.
Just let me fix it.
I
Here, let's start this up.
Here, I don't need your power tools.
I can fix it! I really just prefer to fix it.
Hey! Listen!
Hello! Welcome back to Alyssa and Lyssa. I'm so happy you're here, and I am your host, Alyssa. Hi guys! Hi guys! I'm here to talk to you today about the dismissive avoidant. We're going to talk about 8 very common tendencies amongst individuals that have a dismissive avoidant attachment style. These are like, they open their toolbox. This is like what they use on a daily basis when they're faced with conflict, when they're faced with emotions they don't like, when they're faced with like the tougher parts of their lives. This is how they tend to deal with them and how they tend to cope and get by. I want to remind you, please subscribe. It's so important. Please subscribe, okay? I really appreciate you, and I love when you're here. Let's get into it. Dismissive avoidance. The first very common tendency of a dismissive avoidant is right fighting. Dismissive avoidance, who are you talking? And whatever you're saying sounds a little bit like you suggesting that maybe they are wrong about something. They are flawed in some way in your eyes, or they have failed at something in your eyes. And you might not even really be saying that, but if they perceive that as what you're saying, they're going to be triggered into this mode of right fighting, which means against all odds, against all evidence, against anything that you say. They are going to fight to be right about that. So what you're saying has to be wrong, and what they're saying has to be right. And this is not just because they're stubborn, and it's not just because they are having big egos and they just think they're superior to you. No, this is a trauma response. All of these are trauma responses, is what you have to remember. So your attachment style is formed because of your childhood trauma. So the reason that dismissive avoidants feel like they have to fight to be right is because they learned in childhood that being wrong is absolutely unacceptable. Every time they were wrong, that was bad. They were bad. They were shamed if they were wrong about something, or even told that they were wrong about something that they were actually right about, which also probably happened a lot at times. It made them feel a little powerless and made them feel slighted and like they couldn't get their voice across when they knew they were right. So they might fight harder for that because they had caregivers at times that were very stifling to their emotions and were very domineering and sometimes just wouldn't want to hear it. You know, you were just wrong, and it didn't matter. You didn't get to express yourself as a dismissive avoidant as a child. A lot of times this can sound to their partner like they're telling them that their opinion about something is not as quality or like credible or relevant about the topics. This could be about like subjective things. So it makes the partner feel like they're being invalidated or they're just being like dismissed. Their opinion doesn't matter. It's just not as important, doesn't hold as much weight as the dismissives. This could look like maybe you're talking about something that's totally subjective. You're sharing your opinion, which is based on your emotions and how you feel about it. So it goes to an emotional level. And they might be using facts and a lot of logic to explain to you why your opinion is not as credible as theirs. Instead of just validating your opinion and being like, I see, that's your opinion, that's how you see it, and then it's okay for me to have mine and how I see it. They're trying to explain to you why objectively their opinion is right. So obviously there's a fallacy there that's existing. The reason that they do that is because it feels like to them that if their opinion is not right, they are wrong. And then it goes right back to what I said. They can't be wrong. They being wrong means being bad, shameful. You're not going to get the things that you need. You're not going to be taken seriously. You're not going to be important. You're not going to be okay. So that's why they do it. It's really, again, it always comes back to it's about that person. So anytime you're feeling like it's about you and it's personal, it's really not. They're doing that not to demean you most of the time, but more often because they're feeling like you are, like if you are able to validate your opinion about that, then that invalidates them and makes them wrong. Right? So what can you do if you're working with a dismissive avoidant? They're your partner, they're your family member, you're having this conversation and that's happening. What can you do to make it better? What can you do to help them through that hurdle that they might not even know is a hurdle? The best mode in this situation would probably be modeling. So model the behavior that you want to see. If they are invalidating your opinion on a subjective matter, then you want to validate their opinion. I know it seems counterproductive because it's like they're not validating you and then you're giving them even more validation because they're already validating themselves. It's like double whammy. And you would think that that would make them feel, bigger and taller and that they're right. Well, maybe, but something really interesting happens when you do this with people that you often come to butting heads with. If you just try the opposite thing sometime, you see that sometimes the opposite outcome happens. It's like a paradox. It's like where the thing that you think would happen, the opposite actually happens. And so when you think fighting against them is going to help you get the outcome where you guys can come to the agreement that your opinions are both valid, it actually gives you the opposite, right? It gives you them doubling down harder. That's a paradox. And then, so this is going to also be a paradox. If you also validate them, you think that that's going to have the outcome of them thinking that they've won the argument and just give them more validation and you none. But actually, it's likely to have the opposite outcome. It's likely to have them consider, oh, well, that was really deep and thoughtful of them and really big of them to validate my opinion. Maybe I should take a closer look at what I'm doing here and maybe give them a little validation, try to see it their way a little bit more. This has happened to me. So as their partner, you can step into their shoes, even though they're not stepping into yours at the moment, and just give it a try and be like,
I hear what you're saying. And I could see actually how you could see it that way. It makes a lot of sense. And I respect your opinion on that. I still carry my opinion, but I can see where you got yours from, so I totally respect that.
and then just wait. And sometimes a really cool thing happens where they see that behavior and then they're like, oh, it's actually really honorable and that's actually really big of them. And they're not going to say that out loud, likely, but you'll see a little shift. And the more you do that, instead of meeting them with more resistance, you might see a lot more shifts and bigger shifts start to happen. Because what you're doing is you're pulling the curtain off of the options there. You're revealing that there's not just wrong and right. You're revealing that it's actually, there's another option, which is that we could both be equally right. Maybe in this situation, there isn't a wrong and right. So you're opening up that pathway for them. They see that as an available option. They're going to feel more safe to be able to have some leeway there. Number 2, the second tendency of a dismissive avoidant that's very common. They're going to be Mr. or Mrs. Fix-It. So if you come to them with an emotional issue.
The worst day ever. Did I just tell you what happened all day?
They're going to try to comfort you the way that they know to comfort themselves, and that is to fix problems as they arise. So they are going to want that problem to be fixed right now. So if it's something that is, they don't understand why you're venting about a problem, because they don't do that. Okay, so if you're just there to express your feelings that have piled up from the day or about a situation, they're going to be really foreign to that. They're going to be like,
I don't understand the reason that you're doing this. Do you want to fix it? Or like, what do you want me to do about it? Because like, this is how we fix it.
And they can sometimes frustrate their partners by doing that, because oftentimes we do just need to be able to vent about our emotions and get them out. And our partner should be a good place for that. And so dismissive avoidants that don't yet understand that quality, which they don't tend to automatically until they start to discover their attachment wounds and work on these things, they're going to maybe seem cold and like they're shutting you down and like they're trying to just blow you off. But really, they're just helping you by comforting you the way that they see working for them. which is by fixing that problem right now and just getting it out of the way. Because like the sooner it's fixed, it goes away, and then you're not doing this. Because this is uncomfortable for them. Because they don't know how to lend emotional support and just make space for your emotions.
Babe, I had a really bad day. Everyone at work is talking bad about me, and Susie has been spreading rumors about me all week. She keeps saying that I go to the bathroom just to sit there and look at my phone. She wouldn't know that if she didn't do that too. She's such a... And Barbara, she's just always talking about her diet. Every day it's my diet, my diet, my diet. I can't take anymore.
Here, I have a tool for that. Yeah, I can fix it. Here.
Where are you going to put that screwdriver?
Let me just... That's it.
No, I just want to talk to you about how I feel, how I'm feeling. I just want to tell you how I'm feeling.
I don't get it. Why wouldn't you want me to fix it?
I'm feeling.
Just let me fix it.
I...
Here, let's start this up.
Here, I don't need your power tools.
I can fix it! I really just prefer to fix it.
Mr. Felix, I don't need you to fix it. Sometimes I just want to talk about my feelings. Sometimes I just want to get them out, you know? Sometimes I just want to vent. You don't have to fix it. You can just, like, listen to me. Tell me, like, how I'm feeling is pretty normal, and I have a right to feel that way. That's called validation. Do you have that tool?
No.
I know what to get you for Christmas.
Is that what this is?
So what can you do if you have a partner who is trying to fix it when you just need to vent? You can communicate your needs first. So prior to ever bringing your problem in there, the first thing you want to say is something like, I just need to vent for a few minutes, and I don't need you to find a solution. I just want you to listen to my story. Is that okay with you right now? Or something like that. Sometimes it can be helpful to add this. Tell them that this isn't their responsibility to solve, that it won't take up much of their time, and that it's okay to have no emotions about it, just to let you have yours. This really eases the mind of the dismissive avoidant and gives you the space to vent without them thinking they need to do something about it. Number 3. The third tendency that's very common amongst dismissive avoidants is for them to flee. They are runners. A lot of times you hear in relationships and certain dynamics, especially in the anxious avoidant dynamic, you usually hear there's a runner and there's a chaser. And the chaser tends to be the anxious, and the runner tends to be the more avoidant. So dismissive avoidants are often running away from that problem. Okay, the one that you keep bringing to them. So oftentimes things can be a little overwhelming. Your emotions and all of that raw emotion that you bring to the table, if you're the partner of a dismissive avoidant, that might be a lot for them to handle at times because they are not super in touch with that side of themselves. So in childhood, they learned that if you just run away from it, then it can't like get you right now. Like they physically just remove themselves from that situation. So you might see a dismissive avoidant, like if you came to talk to them about something, you kind of like put it upon them without them expecting it. You might see they might quickly have something else they need to go do. Like they need to run to the bathroom. They need to go change this first, and they're going to put you on hold, and they're going to try to get away. Okay. Also, they can do this sometimes by just not allowing you access, period. So you might see sometimes in a relationship, it can harm the relationship because the partner can sometimes be like, why are you avoiding me? Like, why do you keep making excuses for why we can't talk about this? Why I can't come over and talk about this? It's because they absolutely don't want to talk about that because of whatever is going to go on in that conversation is too overwhelming for them. They don't like it. So they're going to continue to find ways for you not to come into their space. They didn't have to flee you because they're just not letting you in the first place. So they don't, it's the same thing though.
Okay.
Hey,
What the? How the hell did you get in here? Hi. What brings you? What brings you here? You are here.
I just came over to talk real quick. I had some time.
Oh, that is very, very thoughtful of you. I appreciate that. The thing is, you know what? I don't have any time right now. I gotta, my brother, I gotta go to my brother. His pet salamander, he has to get a salamander. His pet salamander is getting married there's a salamander wedding happening today. It's really important to him. I have to go. I'm sorry.
You don't have a brother.
See, you know what? That's not even true. Okay, you don't even know. He's my brother by proxy of the union of the state. See, you don't know everything, okay? That's your problem. You're always trying to limit me. Always trying to tell me what I have, what I don't have, what I can and can't have.
Well, I'm already here. I mean, you probably need a +1, right? I'll go with you. Then we can talk on the way there. The car ride is perfect. We can have our talk. It'll all work out. I'll just wait down here.
It's a wedding. It's a wedding. You can't wear white to a wedding. It's very disrespectful. You can't wear white to a wedding. Everyone knows that. I'm sorry. What? Weren't you just where? Where did you get that? A gift. I have to go get them a gift. It's too much. It's all just too much. We just gotta do this another day. I'm gonna have to go. What the f? What is that?
For the salamander family.
Where did you get that?
Should we take my car or yours?
You know what? Something came up. I gotta go.
What do you mean?
I gotta go.
But the salamanders.
No. I gotta go.
Do you need to call your brother or something?
I don't have a brother.
So that was all just a big lie?
Forget it. I gotta go to bed. I'm gonna go to bed now.
It's only 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, I gotta go.
Whatever. I'm gonna use your bathroom.
The window. Now, it's your only chance.
You know what, babe? I'm just gonna head out. I can tell you're tired. Just call me later.
So, what can you do if your partner is fleeing every time you guys have a conflict or you're having some tough emotions? This largely depends on why the dismissive avoidant is fleeing, but since we can't be sure, we'll address the two most common reasons. One idea is you can take a break or schedule a better time that they'll be expecting this. Sometimes it's just because you sprung it on them. You can say something like, I know this isn't easy to discuss. Let's take a break to collect our thoughts and come back to this at whatever time is good for you guys. But be aware, breaks are reasonable, but procrastination helps neither of you. So make the break short. no longer than an hour or so, or for very heavy issues, maybe a day. Just keep in mind, conflict resolution is healthy and much better for the two of you the more quickly it gets resolved. So taking a break is only useful if it's going to be a short break and not just another way to procrastinate having the conversation. The second idea you can try as their partner is join their team. Sometimes it feels like you two are opponents fighting against each other, but really you should be on the same team fighting the issue. Say something like, I want to get on the same page with you and beat this problem as quickly as possible so we can get back to the good stuff. Let's not fight each other. I'm here as your teammate. Sometimes it's also helpful to sit next to each other, not across from each other. Exchange some affection, hugs, hand-holding. This is not a fight between the two of you. And then also start with each of you saying what self could have done better, not telling each other what they have done wrong. Encourage your partner to think of you as any other person in their life that they admire, like a best friend or a parent that they look up to, that they would never fight with, and treat each other as such. Make it a rule. If I wouldn't say this to my best friend or other person that I admire, I won't be saying it to my partner. Now, the fourth common tendency of a dismissive avoidant, this one is going to be one that their partner probably really likes in the moment because it does exactly what it's named for, and that is appease. So dismissive avoidants have this tendency sometimes, instead of doing what looks like avoidance, they just do it in a different way that appears and presents as being involved and giving into the issue. So this is going to be in the face of something that they have largely protested in the past and not really been getting along with you about. And at this point, whatever other tactics they may have used, other tendencies they may have first fallen into, they might just be desperate to get along with you tonight, and they might just be desperate for this problem to just not be in this space right now, but they want you in this space because just remember, they're never usually running away from you. They're trying to avoid the problem. Okay, so if you are just very persistent and just really persevere with that, then as the anxious tends to do, they're going to likely do the next best thing that they can think of, which is just give you what you want or what looks like that. So let's say you've been really getting on them about going on more date nights.
I really want you to take me out more often. We haven't been going out, we're not bonding, we need to put more focus into that.
And they weren't super interested in that, or they thought, I already do that, I already work and I do everything else, like with you, it's like we're here, we're hanging out. And so if they're having a nice moment with you that's very calm and not having a problem, and then you might insert that into the conversation, like a surprise, a little surprise sneak in there, they might want to appease you in that moment because they are enjoying their time that they're having with you. They don't want you to go away. They don't want to go away from you. They don't want to shut down. They don't want to do any of those other tendencies. So they might just say yes. They might just agree to something that they actually don't really want to agree to, as long as they don't have to face it in that moment. So they might just give you what you want to hear. And they're not doing this to be malicious. They're not doing this to lie to you. They're doing it for the same reason they do all the other tendencies. They want to avoid this topic, this problem, this conflict, this argument, this emotional request of them that they are not interested in having. But this one, I like to look at it as like, they're not doing this to fool me, to lie to me, to set me up for heartbreak. They might be doing this because they're doing this because they want to be around me and they don't want to fight with me. And I mean, obviously all of these tendencies, there's things that every attachment style that's insecure needs to work on to help with these tendencies, to do this better, to move more towards a secure attachment, to do this the right way that can make the relationship healthy. So this isn't a great tactic to engage in. It's by any means, I'm not saying it's good to appease people, but this one, just as their partner who's trying to give them grace and patience, this one's a little easier to stomach. One way I relate to this one really well is with my kids, because I do have a tendency with my children towards being a pushover, and I own it, I know. But sometimes if they're bugging me in the middle of something that I'm really trying to get done and I don't want to have the argument, but they're not letting up and they're like, but why, I really want to go, why can't I go? And I just don't want to address that again. We've already addressed it, and it's not an easy conversation, and I'm going to have to spend an ample amount of time on that with them to get them to understand what they need to do to be able to do that again. But tonight, I don't want to get into that hour-long conversation because I have a deadline. So I might appease them in that moment and say, I'll think about it, or sure, whatever. And it's not right, and it's not okay. But that's the way I relate. And doing so gets you into some trouble down the line, as we all know. So appeasing, not good to do, but it satisfies in the moment. So what can you do? If your partner is appeasing you, you can reassure them that discomfort is okay. Your discomfort, their discomfort, they're both okay sometimes. It's going to happen. You can say, I know you want me to be happy, and that shows me that you care about me. But sometimes I will have other emotions, and so will you, and that's okay. We can find a solution that works best for both of us. I won't be happy with something that makes you unhappy. Sometimes it's also helpful to remind them that you still think they're a good person even when they disagree with you, and that your emotions do not have to be their emotions. They can simply let you feel. This means sometimes they're not going to like the same thing that you want. They're not going to want the same thing that you want. And it's okay if sometimes that makes you a little upset, and they just have to kind of sit there with that with you and let there be space for that. You guys will reach a solution. It just might not be that moment. And just let them know that it's okay to sit in discomfort sometimes, and that you'd prefer that over them just giving in to what you want and then them being unhappy. All right, the fifth common tendency that dismissive avoidants will have when they are faced with conflicts or emotions is going to be to justify. They're going to want to defend themselves to why they are not guilty and explain to you all the reasons why whatever you're saying about them right now that sounds a lot like criticism is actually not true, and it's actually really fine because this is the details of the matter, and this is why it's fine, and this is why it's okay, and you're not correct about what you're saying about me right now. That sounds a lot like you're saying that I'm bad and I'm a failure and I do things wrong. Okay? Criticism. So you might be raising a very healthy complaint with your partner. You might be bringing up something that they very much did do, and you're just addressing something that the two of you have had an agreement about, that you're not going to behave that way or not going to do something a certain way, and you're just bringing up that you noticed this. To them, sometimes, to dismissive avoidants, they will still hear that as criticism, and it's very hard for them to accept criticism. They don't want to be criticized at all because it makes them feel like they are wrong and they're a failure, and we know that is not okay. If you're a failure and you're wrong, then you're bad. And you're going to be shamed, and you're not going to be okay. Trauma. So, their trauma response sometimes is to justify. I used to be in a relationship one time where this was a tactic used a lot. And I used to think it was very malicious. And I used to think it was very invalidating and very, it was upsetting to me. And it was invalidating to my feelings in some way. But I tended to see it as them doing that on purpose. They are trying to invalidate me. Oftentimes that is not the case. So what would happen is I would be, talking about how something made me feel that they did. The two of you, if you're an anxious and they're avoidant and you're trying to have this conversation with them, the goal is not the same. That is why you're ending up at a spot in that conversation that's not getting you anywhere. Because your goal when you come in there, which they don't understand and they don't know about, is that you want to be heard. You want to be validated for your feelings. You want to be acknowledged. You want them to hear how they made you feel and say, I see why that would make you feel that way, and I think I can make these changes so that you don't feel that way anymore. That's what the anxious wants when they're coming into this. The avoidant has no clue about that, and what they're hearing is you're bad, you're wrong, and you're a failure, and you're doing everything wrong. And they see it as an attack. So what do you do when you're being attacked? You defend yourself. How do you often defend yourself? By justifying your actions. So I would hear this person often listen to my grievance, and then the first thing that they would reach for is to explain to me a slew of details of all these different things going on in their life, that what I was hearing that that mean? And the end result is, this is why what I did to you that hurt you is okay, and why you should not be feeling that way. And that is what they're communicating. But they're not doing it maliciously. They are just feeling attacked. And so they can't accept that. And all it is they just haven't learned the safety of vulnerability, of admitting to hurting someone's feelings. And it doesn't mean that they are wrong or that they meant to. So that's where the disconnection is. They fear greatly that if they do that, then you are going to then take that power that they just handed over to you. You're going to be right, which makes them what? Wrong. Because that's how it always was in childhood. Someone's right and someone's wrong. You don't want to be the wrong one, because if you're wrong, you're bad. You're shamed. You're pushed away. You're excommunicated, basically. You're just terrible. So that's what they've learned. So they don't want you to be right about what you're saying about them, because that makes them wrong. So they're going to justify, and they're going to tell you all about their job. And they're going to tell you all about how this thing happened this morning that made that happen, and how this person isn't getting themselves involved, and actually this is how they said this to you and you heard it wrong. And sometimes they might even bring up some things you did and kind of flip it back around on you. And a lot of these behaviors can sound a lot like manipulation, and they can sound a lot like gaslighting. But that's why it's really important to be with a partner that you feel you can trust, and give them the benefit of the doubt. If you're starting to suspect that the person that you're with is maliciously trying to manipulate you and gaslight you and engaging in these things, and the needle's not moving, there's no even desire to hear you out that something needs to change about this dynamic, or they're not recognizing anything ever, and it's just a stone cold stop, and they're not willing to look at any of that or improve in those areas, even in the slightest bit. It's time to reevaluate that relationship, because we need to have grace for our partners and give them the benefit of the doubt. And if we can't even trust that they're not, purposefully trying to misunderstand you or tell you something that's not true, and you can't quite see through to their humanity and that it's a trauma response, then you need to trust your intuition. Just, you got to really feel out the situation. But for a dismissive avoidant who doesn't have those tendencies, who's not doing that, just a good old dismissive avoidant is going to be doing this because of a trauma response. Our attachment styles are not our fault, remember? It's not something that you get to choose. Everybody gets one. You didn't have any say in the way that it happened at all. So largely, a lot of these things are not their fault. But if it continues to cause problems and disconnection in your relationship, which it likely will, and you are likely, unless you are a secure attachment and all the way there, even then, there's probably some tendencies that you could work on as well. And so you're not excluded from this. But as long as you're willing to do some work and with the partner, and if they are, then you're good to go. You guys can work on that and heal that together. So you just got to evaluate the situation. See how they respond to things. See how they respond to telling them that this is continuously hurting me, and I need you to not tell me why that's not right now. Like, we need to maybe focus on this and work through it. And sometimes a couples therapist is what's needed at that time, but make sure there's no abuse going on in the relationship, because otherwise you need an abuse specialist in that case, because not all therapists, let me tell you, are trained to recognize that. And a lot of times the victim will get further victimized through the therapist, who is basically falling into the manipulation of the partner that is doing the abusing. So that happens a lot. I was astonished at the numbers on that, the frequency of that occurrence and people's stories and how often that happens to them. That's frequently something that happens. The therapist is not trained in those specialty areas. They haven't been told that this is abuse. They're just looking at you like any other couple dynamic, where in couples therapy, you take accountability for what you're doing, and then, you come together and you compromise. But in an abusive relationship and dynamic, that's asking the victim to be accountable for the abuse that they're enduring and their reaction to that. So that is very unhealthy and very traumatizing So that's why. That's why I say that every time. It's because it's a big difference. So don't find yourself in that situation. It's very degrading. It can be very hurtful to your mental health. So I'm sorry if you've ever gone through that. I have been there. And it's not a pretty picture and it's not fun. So what can you do if your partner is justifying away your concerns? You can acknowledge that feelings get hurt accidentally sometimes, that you do it sometimes to them and they do it sometimes to you. Say, right now my feelings are hurt regardless of the details. Sometimes we hurt each other's feelings by accident. I just want to tell you how mine were hurt so you can be aware of my internal world. Sometimes it's also helpful to use I felt blank when this thing happened. So for example, I felt unimportant when I had dinner alone and no one called to let me know. Or I felt sad when we didn't have an anniversary dinner. Or I felt degraded when we agreed on something and then something else happened instead. It also might be helpful to remind them that it's okay to acknowledge that their actions hurt someone's feelings. It doesn't mean that they meant to do that or that they're bad. And remember, the biggest thing about justifying is that the dismissive avoidant feels like you are attacking them. They think that you are saying that they are a failure and they are wrong. So reassuring them that this is not an attack. This is an effort to show them your feelings so that they will be aware of how your feelings are being hurt. Therefore, they can make the choice to make a change and care about how your feelings are being hurt, and that mostly you just want to be heard and acknowledged. One more really important thing to mention is that as the anxious partner, or even as the fearful avoidant, and maybe once in a while the secure, sometimes you are actually attacking them because your feelings are hurt. So just make sure that you're using, you're regulating self as well, and that you're trying not to attack them. And if you do attack them, make sure that you're apologizing as well. And you're showing that it's okay to apologize. You're practicing what you preach. Okay? The sixth very common tendency that a dismissive avoidant will reach for to escape emotions, confrontation, conflict is the shutdown. So most people are probably pretty familiar with this one for the dismissive avoidant. We know that they shut down sometimes when they feel overwhelmed with all the emotionality happening around them or high conflict. They're going to stonewall you. Or they're going to give you the silent treatment, which is a form of stonewalling. They're going to just get closed off. They're going to probably tell you they don't want to talk, or they might, this is one I've witnessed. They might fall asleep while you're talking. Like just knocked out. They literally are just toast. They just have their inner emotional system that's just like, oh, I can't take this overload. Just tie, sleep time. They're so tired. Poor little cherubs. They might quite literally fall asleep while you're talking. This has happened to me before, and I'm very embarrassed to say that. So what can you do if your partner is shutting down? Give them space and time. You don't want to resist what they're doing. You want to kind of flow with it and acknowledge that it's happening and, make them feel like it's okay and that you understand. So you can say something like, I can see you pulling away and I understand why that's happening. I'm going to go take some time to myself and let's put some space here and come back to this at whatever time. Probably like 30 minutes, an hour, something like that if it's like a pressing issue. If it's just that they just seem to be shutting down and there's no real issue at hand, maybe just say like, if you need tonight, take it. Whatever time feels right for you guys. But if it's like an issue that is getting avoided, then you don't want to give too much time because that can just lead to, more and more and more and more time. It's always going to be more time and then it's going to be procrastinated for a long time. So just keep that in mind. Engage that. And then also remind them that it's okay to take a break. Like, it's okay if they're getting to the point of shutdown, they're probably enduring it for a while, a long while before that's happening. So just like maybe let them know that if you need a break, if I need a break, we can always say that. And it's neither of us can get mad about that. And, as long as we agree that we will honor coming back, and then just kind of like connect with them, let them know that your emotions get overwhelming at times too. It's not something that you're going to judge, and that basically you don't see them as weak because they need a break. You don't see them as odd or look down upon them. You actually find it strong when somebody can recognize what's going on with them and ask for what they need. That's a sign of strength, and that they should be proud of that. Number seven, common tendency for dismissive avoidance is to jab. This is also called, like, they might snap. They might, they're gonna be like, meh. I don't know of any association that's connected with dismissive avoidance where they actually jab at people. So I don't think that's tied together. This would be just like verbally jab at someone, or like just lash out at someone, but not physically, okay? So this could be passive-aggressive comments. This could be someone who just, like, blows up in anger or frustration or irritation over, like, pretty small things. So what happens with dismissive avoidance is they tend to bottle and push away and suppress. They tend to suppress all of that anger. All of those emotions and all of those different things that they don't want to feel and they don't want to let come to the surface. So what do we know about human beings? We have to process those emotions out. They're not supposed to build up inside of us. So people who allow that to happen, those emotions are going to come out one way or another. So it's common for a dismissive avoidant to get to the point where they are passive-aggressive. So passive-aggressive, just in case anybody doesn't know what it looks like, it's like when someone upset you about something, but you're not saying the thing that they upset you about. You're not saying that thing. You're not pointing out that thing. You're not having a direct conversation about that. But you might insult them, in a little underhanded jab. When you're mad at somebody because they didn't call you back. So then when you call them and you're like, hey, you forgot to call me back, they're like laughing about it. But then, like, a little bit later into the conversation, like, let's say you're just having like a conversation about somebody in your family or somebody at work or something like that, about somebody just like not being dependable or something. They might be like, oh, you must know a lot about that, huh? Guess you have to have those traits to recognize them. Yeah? And then you're just like, that seemed oddly serious. Other things is like they're really mad about a bunch of like little things that all led up to here, but they don't want to let those emotions come to the surface because they are afraid of what might happen at that point. They don't really have a good handle on that emotion. They don't really know how to express it. They don't know what words to put to it. They don't really know how to do it healthy. They learned in their childhood that you don't express emotions. It's best to just keep those things put away and like don't actually even have them. So what will happen is somebody will do a tiny little thing. Somebody might accidentally scuff their shoe. Then when they're dancing around or something past them, they scuff their new shoe, they might be like, what's wrong? Lash out and like not even really mean to. It just kind of bubbles over all of a sudden. Even in high conflict situations, they seem to always have kind of like a calm demeanor. Like they're not actually getting upset. But inside there's an emotional whirlwind going on. Because they're not letting any of that out. It's like a soda bottle that you just shake. Shaking it all the time. You're shaking it. Shake it fast. But watch yourself. Shake it fast. Show me what you're working with. It's like a soda bottle if you shake it. And then you open it a little bit. The lid gets twisted a bit. It's going to be like, like little bits are going to like out. It's like that. Do not shake the dismissive avoidant. Don't shake them. So this can look like just being moody. Like when sometimes you're just like, what is wrong with you? Why are you in this bad mood all of a sudden? Like we were good. And like they just seem annoyed with you. They seem like they just don't have the proper positivity at the moment to deal with interaction. And they're just kind of like giving you every signal that they would really like if you would get away from them. They might also just criticize you suddenly. Just like put you down, maybe a little bit. So what can you do if your partner is jabbing at you? Call it out. Now this is the one that I would say it's just the nature of the beast that this one just needs to be called out directly. And kind of like nipped in the bud, because this behavior, this is one that like can easily walk the line and like trickle into emotional abuse pretty easily. So you just want to not even deal with it and make sure you're not doing it either, because it's common for a lot of people to do this, for all people. You want to say something like, I could be wrong, but that sounded like a jab. You could say, just tell me directly what's behind that, like what's wrong. And this is likely to catch them off guard a bit, and it might not immediately get you a direct answer, but you can say also, I'm more hurt when you're indirect with me than I would be if you just gave it to me straight. I can handle it. So just, you can tell me things. Reassure your partner that they can tell you things that are hard to say. I have to specify with this one a lot on the anxious. It's really important that you are holding yourself accountable, that you're not falling apart every time your partner has an issue with you, okay? Because that is what leads them to feel, that is what leads the dismissive avoidant to feel like they can't tell you what's upsetting them, because you're going to fall apart, or you're going to get angry, you're going to start sobbing, crying, and some emotional, like just over the top display. And your emotions are valid. I mean it. I mean it. I mean it. I mean it. But we all know, if you're more on the anxious side, even if you're a fearful avoidant, there's time when it's too much. And you just, it's a lot for some people to handle. People that aren't used to that, okay? You know, if someone's telling you that they didn't like the way you said something, or they would really like it if you would do the dishes more because you're home more often and you promised you would and you're not doing them now, so what's up? And that's causing you, because you've had a really hard day, to completely fall down on the floor sobbing. That's too much, honey. Okay, I'm sorry. I've been there. Okay, I have been there. I am talking to myself. I am the queen of over emotion at times, okay? I have done it. Nothing to hide here, okay? I have been ridiculously emotional at times. And what? All right, so own it, but also understand that that's not healthy. That's not what we mean when we say they need to hold space for your emotions. That is too much in the other direction. While yes, in an ideal world, your partner will witness that and be like, okay, this isn't common for her or him, and that I'm going to comfort them. But if it keeps happening, you should probably look into getting some assistance for that. Take responsibility for your own emotional outpouring, okay? Because that's not a healthy level of emotions either. And again, because I come from a history of abuse behavior and being abused, I really want to stress that if that is happening because you're being abused, that is not who I'm talking to right now. Because that is likely to happen if you're being abused. That is actually exactly where that's going to take you. So if you are being abused, it's actually very, very, very understandable that you're reaching that level of emotionality and that you're getting to an unhealthy level of emotions and that your emotions are all over the place, okay? Because you're being abused. So please, that also though, you need to go get some help for that, because you can't stay in that and you can't endure that for long. Okay, so that all being said, when your partner's jabbing at you, address it head on. Let them know that you can take it if they just tell you directly what's up. And then be about that, you know, don't just talk about it, be about it. Like, have a pact with your partner. This is really, really helpful. I've heard this from a lot of really successful couples. They have a pact where they say, we are going to say the hard things, even if it's going to hurt each other's feelings. We're also going to agree to deliver it with tact and with taste and with consideration for how we're saying it. So sometimes people say things like, I'm not rude, I'm just honest. Sometimes people just can't handle it. That's not my fault. Incorrect. Okay? You can be honest, but do you also care about people? So you can be honest and blunt and say whatever comes through your mind, but I would say that largely all of us, probably a certain percentage of the time, things are going to go through our mind that we should absolutely never say to another person out loud. And that would not be very nice at all. And it doesn't matter if it's true or that it went through your head. You do not have the right to say it to someone, okay? Like, it's just not useful. It's just not nice, okay? So there's being honest. And then there's the other part that needs to come into play, which is called consideration for other people's feelings and tact, okay? So just having one doesn't make you an honest and good person, okay? It makes you kind of an a-hole.
Wow.
Right? You have to also consider people's feelings. And that's what makes a well-rounded, honest person, okay? So, pact with your partner that you will consider your delivery, but you're going to talk about the hard things. You're going to say the hard things because when you hold them in, you get disconnected. You're not getting your needs met. There's going to be resentment, okay? There's going to be jabs. Number seven is the busybody. They have a tendency to be a busybody, to suppress their emotions. This can show up in a lot of times with dismissive avoidance. It's work. So just like any other person, we tend to gravitate towards activities and places in our world where we find success, and we're good at that. You're going to have a better time in life when you're succeeding at something that you're doing. So if oftentimes in relationships, dismissive avoidants are not having a lot of success because they're not really learning yet how to process and deal with emotions. They're not really learning yet how to be vulnerable. They're not really learning yet how to properly have conflict resolution. Then they're going to probably seek an area of their life where they do succeed and where they are good at things and where they do get it right. So it all makes sense at work. So they're often very much workaholics, and they often have high-level careers, very, very successful careers. They tend to have more money oftentimes. They tend to have more assets. They just tend to be better off in that realm of life because whatever you pour into, you're probably going to see grow a lot more and flourish and do a lot better. Wherever you focus your energy and you learn how to get it right, that's what you're going to see grow. So they could very well have a lot of success in relationships as well. They just need to learn how to water that area of their life the proper way. But at work, they don't have any trouble with this. It also can be in the form of, Thais Gibson calls it creature comforts. And so it's just like your creature, you're like when you're in your carnal state, things that you go gravitate towards for like naturally that you like to get comfort. And that's hobbies, and they might be binge watchers sometimes on Netflix and stuff like that. I think this is an adorable quality about dismissive avoidance is that they tend to gravitate towards fictitious themes and fantastical themes. Like in games, like in video games, they would want to play something like probably a little more fantastical. Like, I don't even know. What's that one game called that I used to play? I don't even remember. Wow. He's really disappearing from my memory. Look at me. Tripping. I can't believe I don't remember that. I thought I would never forget all those things. Look at that. Look at that. When somebody just, abandons you. You start to forget him after a while. It's crazy. I'm playing. Okay. Anywho, I don't know, like Warcraft? I don't What's a damn fantasy game? I don't know. Zelda. Maybe. I don't know. What's that one where they'd have the dances? Fortnite. There's one. It's like a fantastical game, right? I think if they watch series or if they watch movies, they're going to want it to be a fantasy theme. They're not going to want it to be something like a documentary or like a real life thing, like a reality show or anything like that. They're much more into the fiction. So that's cute, I think. Another quite a bit more harmful part of this category, though, it could be a tendency to engage in substance use. So it could be drugs, it could be alcohol. They might have a habit like that where they maybe drink a little too much. They might spend time, all by themselves, drinking a lot, frequently. And that's just something that's because it helps them to not have to do so much emotional inner work. They're going through a hard time, and they're not going to be liking what's going on inside of them. So they're going to want to numb it out. And these comforts, they help with that. So they might reach for that quite frequently. So what do you do if your partner is being a busybody? So you will give them some extra space and time, But you also need to remind them about balance and how you're going to get disconnected. So you can say something like, I noticed that you haven't been around much. You've been either working a lot, gaming a lot, binging a lot, whatever they're doing that in their comforts, or they're, pouring into work. And then you can say, I also want to be included in your internal world. So can we talk about what's been bothering you? And whenever you feel ready, we can do that. You want to remind them that it's okay that they're struggling, and all people struggle, but that's why people have partners and friends, and that's why we need others. That's why we're creatures of, we don't live alone, where solitude actually harms us greatly. It's actually one of the worst things for your mental health. So it's natural, and the people that are around because they trust that you're going to ask when you need help, and that means also they can ask you when they need help. So it's a mutual exchange. It's not just about providing the help when others ask you. It's also about expressing to others how they can be there for you. So remind them of that, and remind them that you're not able to feel like their partner if they're not letting you into their internal world. So then you feel disconnected and you don't feel useful, and that hurts you. And that it doesn't make them weak if they want to express what's going on in their internal world. That we're a partnership. It can't just be in your head and inside of you. You don't have to fully understand it. You don't have to know exactly how to put words to it, but bring me in on the fact that something's going on with you. 'Cause I'm your partner and I want to help you. And I don't know that you're needing space. I just think you're ignoring me. Gotta tell me. So just remind them that you're here for them and that you're meant to be working on this together. They don't have to have all the answers, but just let you in. Number 8. Woo, we're all the way to the end already. All right, so number 8 is, I forget which one I didn't do. Oh my gosh, figure it out quickly. Awkward. Wait. Oh, did I do all of them? How did I not count correctly to 8? Really? How is that possible?
2,000 years later.
Anyway, there's 8 and that's it. And we're all done, okay? That's all for today, guys. I really hope that you got something out of this. And Dismissive Avoidance, I love you. And don't forget to subscribe. I love you here. I want you here. Please stay with me. Don't leave me. I have attachment wounds, okay? All right, bye. This one's a little easier to stomach. Get it? It's easy peasy. It's easy appeasy. Lemon squeezy. Easy appeasy. Easy peasy. Appeasal, not upheaval. It's not evil when you appease people. Oh.
All right, listen. Tomorrow when you go in the office, when everybody goes to first break, you're gonna go to the fridge where everybody keeps their lunches. You're gonna find that organic lunch that Barbara has, that she brings every day. You're gonna take it. You're gonna put it under Susie's desk, hide it a little bit back so she doesn't see it. You're gonna go talk to Barbara. And you're gonna tell Barbara all about how Susie's been in the bathroom, just chilling on her phone, pretending to go to the bathroom, but that she's saying that you're doing that. Then at lunchtime, Barbara's gonna see that somebody stole her lunch. She's gonna make a big stink, because she loves to talk about it, right? She's gonna be telling everybody. So everybody's gonna be looking for it. And then they're gonna see it underneath Susie's desk. Barbara's gonna think Susie took it. So then what's Barbara gonna do? Barbara's gonna tell everybody, especially the boss, that Susie's been going to the bathroom, not on break, just to be on her phone. Barbara's gonna stop bringing those lunches with her because she's not gonna want to get them stolen anymore. She's just gonna go get lunch on her lunch break. Problem solved. You wanna watch a movie? What? I fixed it.